welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the boat gang. So this is the Swifter XL build series. I got the front canard. It's going to be active, done. Today we're actually going to carbon fiber the wings. Okay. It should be fairly straightforward, but I promised you guys we would do it. So let's go. Let's go. Okay, so I think the most important part before you carbon fiber your wing is just make sure the shape's right. You know, the horizontal wing is like just a typical lifting wing, because we want a little bit of lift back here. I rounded the front, did a nice drawn out trailing edge, you know, and I went ahead and epoxied my my adjuster on. This is a stainless steel hose clamp. I made sure it was stainless. I actually had to set it on there at an angle because I didn't bend enough angle in it. And I wasn't about to recut all this and reshape it, so hopefully that works. Okay, these guys here, there will be actually, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and take them out. I'm gonna go ahead and take these out. They will get epoxied in, but they're threaded, so I don't want the epoxy to get in the threads, and then we'll have a heck of a time trying to get a screw in, you know. It's just a threaded insert in a carbon fiber tube, you know, carbon fiber tube run through the wing. That adds some rigidity. Really don't need the rigidity because we're carbon fibering them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything ready, get it out. So I got my carbon fiber laid out, used some painter's tape. I stripped it out with a hobby knife, and I got it laid out, one side of carbon fiber for each wing. I know you guys are thinking just lay it out with one piece, but making that hard bend right there, it might not make it. So I usually do one side and then the other side. You can do yours however you want in one piece, but I kind of play it safe, you know, so that's gonna work. Okay, so we're gonna do the inside of the wings first, the small side. Well, both sides are basically the same, but it's the small side, the short side, and then the bottom of the wing first. Okay, this one I was thinking about doing, like wrapping it all the way around, because it is a nice roll. I almost want to do that, but I got it all cut out here for it'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it out with these scissors. All right, so if you're wondering, I'm just gonna leave the tape on there. Okay, I'm gonna leave the tape on, wet my wing out, and then lay the fabric on top. The tape will kind of keep it straight and keep the fabric from tethering the edges. Now, I was gonna actually do something that I learned from another YouTuber channel. It wasn't even boat channel, it was an actual epoxy channel. I can't remember. Something composites. They have an aerosol spray that you can spray on the fabric. It's like an epoxy, and it will actually allow you to cut the fabric without it fraying. But it only works on like radiuses like this. It won't work on an inside corner or anything. They also mentioned you could actually make your own with a 15-minute epoxy, mix it up, thin it out with alcohol, spray it on the fabric, give it about 15 minutes to kick off, and you can cut it and the edges won't fray. And I was gonna do it. I was gonna try it because this would be like the perfect project to do it, but I couldn't find the right spray bottle. And the spray bottle I did find, it had some like it needs to mist. It needs to be like a fine mist. Mist it on the fabric, that thinned out epoxy. Don't let it cure out all the way, but let it kick off, and it'll stiffen up the fabric enough for you to work with it, but it also will suck up the epoxy when you're ready to wet it out. So anyway, I didn't do that, so I'm going to go ahead and lay these out. Just going to fast forward through it for you. Okay. Okay, so it's actually the next day, and everything's cured out. Turned out pretty good, I would say. I set them on foam. Okay, I also kind of throughout the drying process, I would go through and kind of push down the vertical edges in these two cases. Kind of made sure it was rolled over, so whenever we cut this off, it will actually get a nice transition when we lay our second piece down. So you can see everything laid out pretty good. So we need to trim them up. On this guy over here, I actually use this piece of plastic. I've already peeled it off. It peeled right off, and with my ruler on this forward long round side, just to keep, because it didn't want to like roll over, so I wanted to make sure I rolled it all the way over to that center line, you know. And looks like it did the trick, you know. Did the trick. All this outside, it wasn't wetted out, just the part on the wing, you know. So we need to trim it up. That looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. All this tape will peel off if you you know, if the tape was on your part, just know it's okay, because it will peel off once it's wetted out. You can really saturate this top and bottom, you know. You can wet that out if you needed to, you know, under that tape, if you needed to. Like in my case, I didn't need to. I did want to kind of cut this down before we do our next application. Okay, turned out really good. Real light, very lightweight. So with one layer of 6-ounce twill, which is what we're using, 6-ounce carbon fiber, with one layer you can cut it with scissors. Actually, 3 layers you're able to cut with scissors. 3 layers, three thick is 0.6 to 0.8 thick. 3 layers of wetted out fabric. Like if you wanted to lay out a square on the glass pane, like you can wax this glass, lay out the carbon fiber, and pull a panel. And I've done that. 3 thick is basically 0.6, 0.8. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and cut. We'll probably finish it up with some sandpaper, because I'm always a scaredy cat and cut things a little bigger than what it's supposed to be. Actually, that right there might actually be good. You know, you don't want to cut it all the way to the wood, because you're going to lay your second piece down. You feel this little area right here with carbon with epoxy. You feel that when you wet it out, it'll fill with epoxy, and that's how piece will basically drape right on top of that. You know, might need to hit it a little bit with some sandpaper. So I'm basically cleaning these up, carefully cleaning them up, not to take too much off. Get it ready to be bonded to our next piece. So it's been about 6 hours or so, and I've already cut this off. I couldn't wait. I got this to fold over pretty nice. Okay, we're going to need to sand most of that off because our seam was like right in here with this piece here. I wanted it to overlap, so we'll cut it off and clean it up with some sandpaper. Cut the ends off like we did previous. Okay, I've already cut the tops of this, and it actually turned out pretty good. So just gonna take our scissors here and cut it a little bit big, and we'll use our sandpaper to clean it and roll it, you know. Like back here, it'll be a nice crisp, like meet up of the two sides, and then up here I want it to be kind of rolled, you know. Okay. I'll go out to the shop. I'm gonna go do my sanding out there. Okay. And then I'll show you what it looks like. We'll probably need to go over this with a coat of epoxy, you know, maybe some thin. It depends. If I have a lot of low spots, we'll thicken it. If it's not, we'll thin out a little bit of epoxy, do a coat of a thin epoxy because it lays down pretty nice, you know, and you don't have a whole lot of sanding to do with your thin epoxy. If we thicken it, we'll have a lot of sanding to do. They don't feel that much heavier because let's see, I used about 10 grams on this side, and then I used about 12 on this side, maybe 14. Yeah, it was 14. So 12 and 14 is 26. So 26 grams of epoxy plus the carbon fiber sheet. So they don't feel too bad. I have some lightly thickened epoxy here, okay? This should actually spread out rather smooth on these larger surfaces here. I'm just going to do the top. We'll wait till tomorrow. We'll do the bottom. You know, I'm not trying to add a whole lot of weight, so I'm going to go as thin as I can. You know what I'm saying? As thin as I possibly can. Hopefully it'll kind of fill in some of these small low spots, you know. Okay, so I got my first coat of thickened epoxy on my wings. I'm actually gonna put a second coat on, okay? Throughout the years, I've actually noticed whenever you put a coat of epoxy on a prepped part, you can come in halfway through the original dry of that first application, come in for a second coat, it will actually lay down nice and smooth for you, so you don't have a whole lot of sanding to do. Okay, so I'm not going to thicken this second application. I want to actually I'm almost tempted to thin it, but I don't think I am. I'm just going to use 3 grams. That should be enough to coat all 3 wings, I hope. Actually, you know what? Let's thin it. So I got 2 grams of resin, 1 gram hardener. I need a little, 1 drop should do it. Yep, 306. Yep. Okay, so I am actually gonna thin it out just a hair. Oh, that's probably too much. Okay. Just gonna go over. Damn it, the brush soaked up all my epoxy. Alright, that's good. Just gonna go over it one time. Yeah, you see that? See how that did? Okay. and it will basically dry at the same time because you got that first application on there, and it kind of speeds up the second coat. It speeds up the dry time basically. Main reason I'm doing it because I had a couple little areas right here that didn't really take all that well, so I was trying to fill that in. Okay, so it's the next day. Turned out pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with some sandpaper. This is the 1.5, the thickened, and then I laid that thin epoxy down. Turned out pretty good. Before I went to bed, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and flip them over. Even though it's still tacky, you see right there, I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over and put one coat on this side so I can show you the difference. So this is a thickened with a thin mid cure, okay, and this is just one coat of thickened epoxy, so you can actually see the difference. I'll probably have to do some filling on this side. This side right here, I can basically sand all of that epoxy off, and it should be DUN done. Okay, same with these. Okay, this is the thickened and thinned side. This is the single thickened. Okay, like I said, it wasn't quite cured out. It would look much better. It would look like this, but I was trying to get as much done yesterday as I could. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these out and sand them, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So I just got back from the shop. I still have some touch-ups to do. Probably need to do some filling, some finalized work. Gotta drill my holes out, you know. But I wanted to weigh them, see what they weigh here. So 22 on that. Wow, both vertical stabilizers weigh the exact same. That's actually pretty cool. All right, 34, 20, so 80 grams. Damn, that's not bad. 82, so basically 90 grams with all the hardware and stuff. We're using plastic breakaways. They're very light. So let's see how many ounces. That's 2.9 ounces. Not bad. Not freaking bad. I'll actually take that. That's, I mean, they're not exactly light, but they're not exactly extremely heavy either. And I'm almost willing to bet it's gonna float because the front canard floats. So as you can see, I took most of that epoxy off. I'm probably gonna sand it all the way down to these low spots so I don't really have to fill. Whoa, what happened here? Oh man. Oh, I got one dry spot right there somehow. Or it was just a bubble in my layup right there. Damn, I am gonna have to lay some epoxy out on it. Alright, probably gonna have to dig that out and then epoxy over it. Damn, that sucks. It would have been perfect. Alright, so I got one little spot that I need to fill in on that wing. Everything else looks pretty good. I can actually hit that with some filler. But that one little spot, I cut up some carbon fiber. Got some Cavasil here. Real fine carbon fiber. That'll kind of match the color. I'm going to paint over it just in case I decide to keep, well, I can't keep it carbon fiber color, but carbon fiber will help sanding. It'll help it sand easier. Ooh. Oh man, I'm done. It's pretty much done. I do have a couple little things to do, but she's done and it looks freaking awesome. Alright, so first of all, I'm mounting this with nylon breakaway screws so the wing will break off that carbon fiber mounted in the hull and it don't tear our hull apart. This is just for mock-up, but you know, I wanted to be able to sand this and get this base matched up the best I could to my wing. Okay, I'm working on that. I haven't finished it. I hit it with 220. Everything's hit with 220, and it actually looks really, really, really good. I think they turned out great. They really did. They meet up to my mount perfectly. The transition from hull to wing looks good. It looks like I need to work on the back portion of that, flatten it out a little bit. But just need to put a threaded insert in here, epoxy or CA glue my threaded inserts into that horizontal wing, and put some sandable primer on it. Okay, I don't think I'm going to do any filling. I'm just going to use some sandable primer, hit it with that, sand it, hit it with the primer, sand it, and it should be like ready to paint. A couple of coats, you know. So at this point right here, if you wanted to go with a carbon fiber look, you could actually, you know, hit it with some 400 and clear coat it, right? And it will bring out the carbon fiber look. If you wanted to, you could actually polish the epoxy. Okay, you could wet sand it, like work it up to 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, compound wax it, and then wax the wing, and it would polish up beautifully. That's what I did to the UL-19 wing. I just buffed it with some polish, or like I said, clear coat it. We're gonna paint it Spirit of the Navy, okay? But I think it looks great. They're pretty light. Like, I don't know how much a 10th scale wing weighs. 90 grams is not bad in my opinion. The amount of lift we're gonna get back here should kind of compensate for the little bit of added weight we added, you know. So man, I'm pretty stoked. Now we could start the paint job, but most importantly, we can start getting our setup right, because we have the weight from the wing on the boat, the weight from the servo and the front canard in the boat, gyro controlled. So now we could start our setup. You know, I couldn't really do much until I had all this done and worked into quote unquote the equation, you know. So man, I'm super stoked, you guys. I think it looks great. So one thing I do want to point out, when you're making your uprights or the horizontal, the wood aspect, shaping of the wing, make it a little bit narrower than you want it. You guys see how wide mine is now? Okay, because we had some overhang on the front, we had some overhang on the back, so make it just a little bit narrower than your actual wing that you want. Okay, that's why mine looks so skinny. So yeah, just a little bit of like tinkering and sanding to go, and we'll be ready, man. Spirit of the Navy, here we come. Here we come. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys learned something. We'll see you next time. Big B, we're Ironclade RC.